Another great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, somebody who also has democratic values, and she's got democratic values because of from whence she came. She knows what it's like to have a family, come from a family where hard work sometimes is compensated, sometimes it's compensated with pay, sometimes with black lung disease. She is truly the coal miner's daughter. She is a fighting, progressive person who cares for the poor and the working class and young students. And I give you Speaker Toni Atkins.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that really great introduction, coming from a man who is the epitome of compassion. Thank you, John. You know, it's wonderful to be with you here, and I share the sentiments of my colleague and my friend in the Senate, President Pro Tem De Leon, when we talk about the honor to be here with each and every one of you. And I have to say, to have the opportunity to work with someone whose values so closely mirror each other. You know, we both come from good, hearty, working class stock. He from the barrios of San Diego and me from the hollers of Appalachia. But boy, we have similar values and we know how to make it work. Thank you, Kevin. You know, this week marked my first year as Speaker, and I want to thank all of you in this room. I am proud that my colleagues and I were able to achieve some pretty great things for the people of California during this past year. And I'm going to ask all of my colleagues in the Assembly to stand up because, you know, there's a few more of us than there are in the Senate, and I don't want to miss anybody. I've got some incredible colleagues. Wherever you are, please stand up. These are the folks that you sent to Sacramento to represent this diverse and incredibly vibrant state. And I want to thank you for sending such amazing colleagues to work from every part of our great state. In the last year, we made historic investments in the fight against poverty, and we greatly increased school funding over 2013-14 levels in the budget. We raised CalWorks grants and enacted paid sick days for workers. Thank you, Lorena Gonzalez. We increased child care for at-risk working parents. We made the first new state investment in affordable housing in 14 years. We passed historic water bond and important coastal protections. But there is still work to be done. Assembly Democrats, working with our colleagues in the Senate, are committed to continuing to help those who have been left out by the recovery. And that includes lifting more Californians out of poverty. We're committed to creating good jobs and building a strong middle class. We want to keep college affordable. We want to rebuild our decaying infrastructure. And we want to ease the affordable housing crisis in California. And we're going to continue to fight for economic, environmental, and social justice, and for full equality for all Californians. Right now, in Sacramento, the biggest vehicle we have to make people's lives better is our state budget. Governor Jerry Brown just released his May budget revision, which kicks off the next round of the budget process. And my colleague, Senator De Leon, and I look forward to that discussion in this next month. So while the Assembly Democrats and the Senate will work to make many more improvements in this budget as the process moves forward, there's a short list of our priorities for the 2015-16 budget that I want to share with you. We're going to be committed to continuing to invest in our schools and early childhood education. Now, schools are going to rightfully receive the lion's share of growing revenues. The budget revision includes a big increase as funds for K through 12, which suffered deep cuts during our recession. We're going to get $1 billion more over the governor's January budget proposal, and that's good news for our schools. Now, unfortunately, the revision doesn't include initiatives for preschool and child care. And the Assembly, working with our partners in the Senate, will continue to pursue these issues. We're also committed to improving higher education funding. Now, we have led the effort in the Assembly to provide additional funds for California's colleges and universities. And it's good to see the governor take that position in the budget revision, more money for higher education. Community colleges did very well with an additional $600 million in funds over the $1 billion that we had in January. And that is a very good and large increase, and much of it is flexible funds. It's also a positive sign that UC has apparently agreed to keep fees flat and implement pension reforms. But in light of our Assembly in-depth review of UC's budget, it's clear that further actions are going to be necessary to ensure that UC returns to a model that actually puts California students first and that more effectively uses the resources that the state provides. We're going to work to provide a higher level of funding for CSU as well, which has taken a more reasonable approach to student fees, particularly funding that can help accelerate CSU's graduation rate. CSU is one of the cornerstones of our higher education system, and it deserves funding at least that equal to UC. We look forward to working with the governor and the Senate to reach a successful conclusion that increases funds for UC and CSU, and here's the key, that commits in a larger way for California students and their families. No California student should be priced out of a dream of a higher education. I would not be here today without that opportunity for a good education. And I know Kevin wouldn't be here without that opportunity. We know where we come from. But we also know where we're going. We are committed to establishing the Earned Income Tax Credit to reduce poverty. And in the Assembly, yes, we've been working to make sure that no one who works a full-time job should be living in poverty. Now that's a theme, isn't it? You heard Elizabeth Warren say it. You heard Kevin De Leon say it this morning at the Women's Caucus. We believe that we need to turn the tide there. And a targeted state version of the Earned Income Tax Credit, along with increasing our minimum wage, are great tools to help Californians out of poverty. Now, the $380 million of the Earned Income Tax Credit that's proposed by Jerry Brown will benefit, this is critically important, is going to benefit approximately 2 million more Californians, 2 million more people, including some 50,000 Californians who will be lifted out of poverty and another 50,000 who will be lifted from deep poverty. That's incredible. So we want to thank Governor Brown for that. The beauty of the Earned Income Tax Credit is not only that it helps working poor families, it helps money circulate through our economy. Making progress on minimum wage and increasing access to child care combined with an Earned Income Tax Credit in the budget is a big step in the fight against poverty. Now, we've also got some other work to do. We're committed to shoring up our state's transportation infrastructure. Now, in the budget revision, the governor says we need to pass a plan this year. That's great. We have a plan. Between the Senate and the Assembly, we have plans to take care of transportation infrastructure. We want to pay down, we want to provide a down payment on our $2 billion transportation plan by returning most, if not all, of the truck weight fees the state collects to be used for roadway preservation and maintenance. And California, we know, cannot have a strong middle class or a thriving economy if our roadways are congested and if people and goods cannot move more efficiently throughout our state. Now, we did a lot for transit in the current budget, including earmarking ongoing cap and trade revenues. Now, infrastructure needs our help too. We know that our Federal Highway Administration calculates that for every dollar invested in transportation infrastructure, we produce $5.20 in economic benefits. And studies have shown that for every $1 billion that gets spent on transportation infrastructure leads to as many as 18,000 new jobs. Assembly Democrats remain committed to protecting, along with our Senate colleagues, vital services through our rainy day fund. When the Great Recession hit, the boom and the bust nature of our revenues led to brutal cuts to services that we all care about in this room. The Proposition 2 Rainy Day Fund, conceived by Assembly Democrats and endorsed by the California Democratic Party, will help prevent that from happening again. So it's good that the governor's budget revision includes growing revenues to the tune of $4.6 billion. And they say Democrats are fiscally responsible. Yes, we are. While we got a few things we've been pushing for included in this revision, we have more to do. And we know we won't get everything we want in the process. No one ever does. But we believe this year's budget architecture will enable success and progress in each of these areas. And of course, there are certainly additional priorities that we will continue to work on in the budget and in legislative bills. You've been telling me about it all weekend. I'm committed to achieving a permanent and sustainable source of funds to create more affordable multifamily and rental housing in California, where we have too many burdened renters and homeowners, too many homeless people, and too many couch surfers praying that they can make their welcome hold out just a little bit longer. In addition to our advocacy for higher education funding, the Assembly Democrats are committed to the Middle Class Scholarship. In the first year of operation, the Middle Class Scholarship has helped more than 81,000 students who aren't eligible for traditional financial aid. Once fully implemented, oh, you can clap on that one. Once we get that fully implemented, the Middle Class Scholarship will reduce a recipient's annual out-of-pocket tuition costs by up to 30%, as much as $4,900 at UC, where tuition is over $12,000, and as much as $2,200 at CSU, where tuition is much as $5,500. So we're working to accelerate the Middle Class Scholarship to give more tuition relief beginning in 2015-16, and we may need to tweak some parts of that proposal that needs improving. But we will make sure that we continue to focus on the middle class who needs additional assistance as well. Of all the fee proposals under discussion, only the Middle Class Scholarship actually keeps costs down for California's middle-income students. Now, we're also looking to increase financial aid for expenses like books and transportation, and increasing the number of competitive Cal grants for low-income students, because they still need our help. In the crucial area of climate change, I couldn't have said it any better than my colleague, President Pro Tem Senator De Leon. We want California to continue to lead the nation in listening to science, acting on the real threat, and reducing greenhouse gases. We also believe California's forward-thinking actions on immigration, as you have heard again and again today, understanding immigrants' contributions to our economy, our culture, and our families, can lead the nation and help move the conversation on comprehensive reform, real reform. And finally, each of the legislature's dynamic caucuses, the Black Caucus, the Women's Caucus, the LGBT Caucus, the API Caucus, the Latino Caucus, we are so diverse in this state, and we want to make use of the rich diversity that we have. All have strong priority legislation that they're advocating and advancing that will make a real difference in real people's lives. And I'm proud to be a co-author of several of those bills. Every Democrat that you send to Sacramento increases the chances of success for progressive public policy. And I believe when you combine the success we have had this last year and the progress we will make this year and the hard work that we will all do next year, November 2016 will be an amazing year for Democrats and for California. Thank you.